So the sports festival arc is here for Classroom the Elite, and I gotta say, this is probably one of my most favorite arcs of this series. I would say it's my top 5 best arcs of year 1 of Classroom the Elite. I don't think it's like number 1 spot, but it is, in the top 5. Now, there's a lot of things that happen in this arc, and I'm not trying to, go into too much details about it, but just know that this arc is gonna play an important role for the series as it goes on. There's a lot of things that happen during the sports festival arc and after the sports festival arc that are going to be very important in the near future. But for now, let's just stick into what happened in episode 4. So episode 4 starts with seemingly them going back to the school or them already at the school, and it seems that there's a conversation between Hirata, Karizawa, Anakoji, and Horita in which they talk about what happened during the exam and pretty much what happened after the exam, to which it seems that they have figured out a strategy that may be the reason as to how they could have determined the VIPs. Just this strategy, and the strategy is very simple: order of the group's planet from the sun, names of the students in each group, the way you could have figured out who that VIP was. And here I have to use an example. For example, the Mars group, which is aka the Anakoji's group that he was assigned to in the cruise ship exam. Anakoji's group was Mars. So Mars is like the 4th planet that's close to the sun. And if you put everyone's last name in alphabetical order, for example, Anakoji's 1st, Ichino's 2nd, Ibuki's 3rd, 4th is Karizawa, meaning that it's already been established that Karizawa is the VIP because, once again, Mars is the 4th planet to be near the sun. And then Horikita jumps in saying that the 3rd name in the Earth group was Kushida, so therefore it makes sense as to why Kushida was the VIP in her group. Kei is obviously shocked by this because, well, this strategy seems too simple, to which everyone agrees. This strategy was very simple. However, because they were in the middle of the exam, they seem to not have been thinking about this strategy, or they probably did find out about this strategy. However, they were not really sure if this was a strategy to go by because they didn't know if this strategy was going to work. However, there was one person who actually did use this strategy and it seemed to actually paid off, and that was Ryuen. Already establishing that Ryuen is smart, and it seems that he already knew about this strategy. That's why he was not really that, stressed out about the exam, because it seems that he already knew about this strategy. That's why it made it easy for him to determine who the VIPs were. After this conversation, Hirata thanks Horikita for bringing this information to them because it's very clear they had no idea this strategy even existed, to which Horikita just simply responds saying that, this is something that she has to do because from now on she's going to have to, work with other people in the near future for future exams, something that Anakoji in his head agrees with because he wants to see Horikita cooperating with the class instead of doing everything all by herself, or thinking that, doing everything by herself is the way to beat these exams, something that, is not the case for every exam because teamwork is very important in some exams. After the opening, we then get the next scene in which it's the classroom with Chabashira talking about the next term of the school year, in which it seems that now they're going to have more gym classes because they're going to be involved in the sports festival. Something that at first a lot of people are kind of curious because they want to find out if this sports festival is a special exam, to which Chabashira just simply says that they could interpret it like that, but it is something that's going to affect their class. After this, Chabashira starts explaining what's going to happen in the sports festival, to which she says that the school is going to be divided into 2 groups, the white team and the red team, to which Chabashira says how class D is in the red group, the same as class A, meaning that class A and class D are in the red team, whereas class B and class C are in the white team, to which a lot of them are surprised considering the fact that there seems to be pairing up with the class that everyone wants to be in, class A. It seems that everyone has different reactions towards this announcement of the sports festival because some are annoyed by this while some are kind of worried about this event, but it seems that there's only one person who's actually really hyped for this event to happen, which is Pseudo. It's not really surprising considering that he really enjoys sports and is an athletic person, so it's no surprise that he was going to be really hyped up for this sports festival event. After that, we get a scene of Anakoya telling Horikita if she is looking forward for this event because there's a chance that she might be able to see him again. Him is in reference to Horikita's brother, because if you have watched season 1 or you read the light novels, you know that Horikita's and Manabu's relationship is not the greatest. It seems that they don't really have a good connection, even though they're brother and sister, to which of course Horikita gets upset over this comment and tells Anakoya to not bring it up, to which Anakoya doesn't bring up the topic once again. So now Chabashira once again talks about the exam, the rules and everything, to which Anakoya starts to looking at the book and he finds out that the more points to get is if you volunteer for events rather than mandatory events. So it does seem that participation is a huge role in this exam, meaning that if you want to get a lot of points, you're going to have to volunteer and participate in events. There's one specific, set of rules that caught interest to the class, and it is the fact that if you get in the top rankings, you actually get points for the next written exam, something that a lot are surprised to and want to get more details about, but Chabashira simply says that that's what the case is. If you are in the top ranks, you're gonna get points for the written exam. That could happen in the near future. Something that Anakoji says is too good to be true, and he is proven right because once he turns the book, he sees that what will happen if there is a team that's ranked lowest, to which it turns out if you are in the lowest ranks, you are going to lose points in the next written exam, something that shocks the entire class. But it also shows that the class is determined to take this sports festival seriously because, well, it's very clear that there's going to be rewards, but there's also going to be losses if they don't take it seriously. After which Hirata asks Shabashira a question saying how much does the class have control of the sports festival, to which Shabashira says that they have full control of who's going to be in what event, what strategy to use, etc. So it does seem that the class is going to have a lot of control of what's going to happen in the sports festivals. As she's saying this, however, she's clearly staring at Anakoji, and Anakoji realizes this, which indicates that she's really interested in what Anakoji is going to do and what he's planning on doing in the sports festival. We then get a next scene that I believe is anime original. I haven't read volume 5 in a while, but I do know that this interaction never happened in the light novel. There was never an interaction between Anakoji and Horikita alone discussing about the sports festival, but I could be wrong, but I do believe that this is anime original. But anyways, we then get a scene involving Anakoji and Horikita, to which Horikita tells Anakoji that this seems to be a case of a special exam, to which Anakoji asks what makes her think that. She says that it just seems like a similar structure and the rewards and the losses are similar to something that a special exam wouldn't have. But Anakoji tells Horikita how it may look like a special exam on paper, but in practice it may be a different thing. At first, Horikita has no idea what he's trying to say, but Anakoji explains further, saying how in every special exam there's always been loopholes, or there's been ways so you could cut corners. However, it seems that in this case there's not really loopholes or ways to cut corners. It seems that in this event it's all about just preparation, so what to do before the event actually happens. To which Horikita agrees, but Anakoji interrupts once again, saying that all she's trying to do really is just find some sort of loopholes that's supposed to be in the event, when in reality there may not be loopholes to begin with. We then get a scene in which the class is discussing what to do in this event, to which Sudo just responds saying that it's all about skill and that he's going to volunteer in every voluntary event, to which everyone seems to be agreeing with, mainly due to the fact that they do believe that Sudo is the most athletic one of the class, so therefore he probably is going to last longer than anybody else, and he's probably willing to go to any event because, once again, he's just a very athletic person. However, one thing to note that's really interesting about this scene is that you can see Anakoji looking at his phone. He's doing something with his phone. It's as if he's not really interested in discussion and is just doing his own things. Seconds before the plan of just basically using skill as a strategy was about to be confirmed, Horikita decides to interrupt and say that she has her own different kind of strategy. While the skill strategy may work, they don't want to just simply use the best of the best in just the voluntary events. They should start focusing on the mandatory events, to which she comes up with a strategy saying that what if we put the non-athletic people in those mandatory events, but also put some athletic people in those mandatory events as well. That way it will benefit them in the long run. And just as everyone is about to agree to Horikita's plan, there's another person that interrupts, which is Shinohara. Shinohara says how Horikita's plan is just essentially them not prioritizing on winning and getting the big bonus points that they will get if they rank the top. But Horikita counter-argues saying that once again, this will benefit them in the long run because everyone's going to be involved and no one's going to feel left out. Therefore, everyone benefits whether they're athletic or not. And just when Horikita's plan seems to be actually, gaining traction to the other classes and seems to be agreeing that, yeah, maybe Horikita's plan is actually good, another person interrupts, and this time it's Kei. It seems that Kei still believes that the skill strategy is something that's going to be beneficial for them because it mainly focuses on them, having a biggest chance of winning. Whereas in Horikita's strategy, it seems more that she's focusing on the points rather than having a chance to win in the events, in most of the events. At this point, it's very obvious that this is just simply a back and forth, and Hirata jumps in to say that we'll just be casting votes to see which plan to go, with Horikita's plan or Kei's plan, and he says people to raise their hands as to which plan they agree on. The first is Horikita's plan, which it seems that about 10 people agreed to go with this plan. Horikita looks at Anakoji as if she's wondering why isn't he raising his hand, to which Anakoji responds saying that he's just simply watching to see what will happen. And after the Horikita's plan has been announced, Hirata announces Kei's plan, to which it seems that only about 8 people agree with this plan. Therefore, it's concluded that they'll be going with Horikita's strategy on this sports festival event. After this, Anakoji leaves the room to go somewhere else, to which he gets stopped by Kei, to which she's wondering what was that all about. Remember that scene in which Anakoji was at his phone doing something? Well, as it turns out, he was actually sending an email to Kei telling Kei to argue with Horikita about their plans for the sports festival event. Now Kei wants to find out why he made her do that and why he made her involve Kushida as well, because as Kei reveals, she actually was in favor of Horikita's strategy. It seemed that she was actually in favor about Horikita's strategy from the beginning. So she's just confused as to why Anakoi made her debate Horikita involving the strategy she came up with. To which Anakoi responds simply by saying that he wanted to confirm a few things. When Kei asks him what those things were, Anakoi says that she'll find out eventually, but right now she's not going to be able to figure it out unless he says so. To which Kei says that he needs to be more specific because she has no idea what's going on. To which Anakoi just simply says that eventually they're going to have a traitor in Class D, which surprises Kei because it seems that she was not aware that there was a traitor in Class D. But Anakoi tells her that she'll find out eventually who it is, but for right now it's best not to talk to each other because they don't want to get too much attention or someone listen to the conversation they're having. And with that, Kei leaves. After this, the next scene is just simply Class D checking their measurements, seeing who's athletic and who's not. And it seems that they're actually taking this very seriously. On the boys' side, they're actually measuring their arm strength, to which Pseudo has a whopping 82, something that a lot of the boys are shocked by, but it's very obvious that Pseudo is very athletic, so it's no surprise that he was going to have a lot of strength. When it's Anakoi's turn to measure his arm strength, he asks Pseudo what's the average arm strength of a person, to which Pseudo just simply says 60. And Anakoi decides to adjust his strength to put it at 60. However, once he gives his answer, which is 60, Hirata says that he's actually pretty strong. But Anakoi says that that's pretty much average, to which Hirata says that no, average would be 45 or 50. And at that point, Anakoi realized that he probably shouldn't have listened to Pseudo because it's most likely Pseudo had no idea what the average arm grip was. So therefore, he was probably thinking that next time he's not going to listen to what Pseudo says. After which, the next scene is them on the field in which they're practicing for the upcoming events. However, Anakoi quickly realizes that Horikita is not cooperating with the other classmates, to which he decides to talk to her. In this conversation, Horikita says how it's not her fault that her classmates aren't doing well and that they're not athletic like her, to which Anakoi says how not everything is going to be based on just how athletic you are, but there's also going to be teamwork. So with that, Anakoi tells Horikita to tie their legs together because they're going to practice a three-legged race, something that Horikita is shocked, but then just simply asks Anakoi why he wants to do that in the first place, to which Anakoi says how there's an event that involves a boy and a girl doing a three-legged race, and therefore they should practice just in case they're chosen to be for that event, to which Horikita responds by saying that she's willing to do it, but if Anakoi can keep up with her, to which Anakoi responds saying that he will. They start practicing, and it's very clear from the start that Anakoi is much more faster than Horikita, and Horikita's having trouble keeping up with him, to which Horikita is not happy with and tells Anakoi to slow down, but Anakoi tells her that that's how he is, further proving his point how skill is not the only thing that benefits in winning these events. It's the fact that they need to cooperate and work together. Realizing this, Horikita accepts it, in which they stop practicing, and Anakoi says one last thing and tells Horikita that the next day they're going to be doing something together but with another person. When Horikita asks who that person is, Anakoi says Kushida, to which Horikita questions why is Kushida going to be involved in what they're going to do the next day, to which Anakoi responds saying it's because Kushida is the traitor of Class D. Something that shocks Horikita, but at this point it's already established that Anakoi is going to figure out why Kushida is betraying the class and who is she actually working with. So overall, I think it's a good episode. I really enjoyed what they did. Obviously, this is just like the setup as to what's to come in the sports festival, and I do believe that there's probably gonna be a couple episodes dedicated to this because I think the sports festival is a big arc to begin with. There's a lot of things that happen, so I really do hope that they adapt well what's to come with the sports festival because there's gonna be a lot of moments that are probably gonna shock a lot of people. Granted, I'm not gonna say a whole lot because of course there's gonna be some anime originals watching, so I'm not gonna spoil too much. Now, for those of you who are still confused as to why Anakoji, made Kei debate Horikita and ask Kushida for her opinion, is for actually three things. One, he wanted to confirm if Kei played an important role in the class, in which in this debate it did confirm that Kei did have some influence to the class. I mean, there were people who agreed with her strategy, but there was also another thing. He also wanted to see how Horikita did when discussing her strategies and how she also, played a role in the class and how cooperative she was willing to do in order for her to, use her strategies and influence the class. And now finally, the Kushida part. Now, it's already been established that Anakoji knew that Kushida was a traitor, but you may be wondering how he did it, and it's actually quite simple. If you recall, Kushida is mostly the type of person that tends to always join conversations and join class discussions. However, Anakoji realized that in this event, it seemed that Kushida had no interest in participating in the discussions, almost as if she was not planning to contribute to the class whatsoever. So I think that settles it as to how Anakori figured out she was a traitor. There were other things that also contributed, like for example what she was doing in the cruise ship. She was acting very strange, so there was also that. But because of her not participating in the class discussions for the sports festival, this already most likely confirmed 100% to Anakoji that Kushida was the traitor of Class Z and that she was going to betray the class. So with that, I'm really looking forward to the next episode and what's to come. So that's pretty much the entire video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.